Hello! Greetings. Alright, so here we are back at it, and thank you so much for joining me. I'm very happy to be moving Jack along and trying to get this picture wrapped up. I'm hoping tomorrow will be the last day. I'm going to see how far we get today. It depends on how quickly these details shape up, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking, or at least, you know, talking in the initial start here. But, just getting my Derwent set. I moved it off my desk yesterday. Ooh, bad me, I didn't put my my swatch card back in here. That's alright. It should be over here on this side, and it is, so as long as I know where it's at, we're good. But today I have just a handful of brushes sitting on my desk, ready to go. I'm not sure which ones I might use. I'm kind of feeling like the maybe give the oval mop a try with pre-wetting our area for the water here, and I'm gonna slide back over here a little bit so you're a little more centered. But yeah, to go ahead and just pre-wet the water and start laying those washes in, so we'll see how that goes. What's his name? We are currently on the end of this pistol so that I can work the rest of it and then be able to come in with the wash. So let's see how much we can get done, because I want to work with some speed as much as the watercolor will allow. So, yeah. Reference is over here. So you can see a really dark value for the edge of that pistol. I have noticed that between my reference and the watercolor, they don't seem to display quite the same way that I'm seeing them. I think I probably could come in here with another wash on the cheek, but anyways, besides the point, let's get to it. Got lots to do. I'm going in with the number 8 round, currently using the Princeton Velvet Touch instead of that random one. Just feel like giving that random one a break. I'm seeing like really dark but warm tones in here. I remember I originally came in here with that sepia. Sorry, I'm moving this back to me. I seem to pick out the color values a little bit better without having that yellowish cast light on this. And this is... Some of the tones are pretty similar to the hair. I think we're just gonna keep going with the sepia, develop that a bit darker. This is the M Gram sepia. I'm grabbing this over the shade and tone set at the moment because the shade and tone set is kind of granular feeling on this paper, and that's not quite what I'm going for. This is mixed a little bit darker than it has been previously. We're just kind of diving right in. Its edge is quite dark. Right to the edge of the fabric, and then we'll soften the rest of that out. And paper towel is helpful. I might get some blooms and backgrounds because this is really wet. And at this point, I'm going to try to reduce how much I'm going back into washes. I really don't want to be tweaking and correcting and, you know, all of that over and over. There is a little bit of a cooler tone in the center of this pistol. That I'm going to just kind of like leave this edge the way it is, let that dry a little bit. Since it's in the center of the pistol, we'll be able to come back when that dries a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and work this edge towards the middle too. So I'm not getting all of it nailed down right here in one pass, but I'm also doing it in a way that we'll be able to do our washes later on for the water. A little more of the M-gram sepia. This side seems actually a little bit, well, this edge is like really, really dark, but it also seems a little bit warmer. Maybe I should just switch to the digital reference and then you guys could see the actual, the printout while I'm painting. Go ahead and drop me a comment if that's something that you're interested in, because, you know, if it's more interesting for you guys to see the reference while I'm working on this, then I'll go ahead and switch things up that way. But it's one of those, like, if I don't know your opinion, it's really hard for me to act on anything. So, you know, if I know that's something you want to see, we'll do that. I am flexible. If anything, that's what watercolor teaches you, is to be flexible, because if a wash doesn't go the way you planned it, yeah, you need that flexibility. Alright, I'm gonna soften this edge slightly on the inside. But that is kind of the lion's share of this section. I'm really, really blotting, doing the rolling motion there. Don't really want water getting into that wash. Hopefully that's not going to give me a background. It's not going to be the end of the world if it does. It's just, I would really prefer it not to. And I do actually need this bit to dry a little bit before I go ahead and glaze this. I'm going to glaze this with a slightly warmer tone. I think I'll do that with the quinacridone burnt orange and the sepia. Yeah, I think I want to go with that instead of the shade and tone set, just because of the opacity. But, you know, if you wanted to use the shade and tone set, what did we use? I think it was the... What did we use? I think we used the... Is it the autumn brown? No, I think it was the sepia is the base color, the Inktense sepia from the shade and tone set, and then I did a little bit of this shadow with the burnt embers tinted charcoal, just on this edge here. I haven't finished coming through and texturing the hat. The hat is one of those, like, it's an important detail as far as Jack, but as far as like getting paper, getting paint on the paper, I was more worried about just jumping around to the details that make a big difference there. I have the teeniest little gap without paint here, and since this edge is still wet, I'm going to see if I could just shove that over there. I don't want a white spot. Hopefully that doesn't get me a bloom. I don't think it will, because that was really, really, really dry. But, yeah, all but like squeezing out the brush. But that's looking a little bit better. We have some darker values here, and I can go ahead and come back in when this dries a little bit. Let's move over. I think for the moment I'm going to skip the silver details, and we're just going to focus on all the wood. All wood grain all the time. I have a loose layer of the sepia ink. I'm sorry, loose layer of the sepia. That is on the warmer end of that spectrum, but it's a really thin wash. Alright, I'm trying to get back to my window for Twitch. Just move ahead. See how things are going. Alright, and as always, welcome to the chat room. If you have questions or concerns, comments about technique, favorite colors, I am always happy to know. Because I love to explore paint, and if I know some new colors to go looking out for, that's always a fun adventure. Alright, so let's see. Back to this barrel. This is pretty strong with the sepia. As far as like the dark value for the watercolor. I think I did this shading with the sepia ink previously. I'm gonna move this over before I drop it off the edge of my desk. Don't want it too far away. So yeah, grabbing a bit more of the sepia watercolor to differentiate because I'm using 3 different sepias. I'm kind of having fun playing with like that subtle tonal variation going on. There is like a little metal divot here. You know what? I already have my brush loaded with some really dark value of sepia, but I think what I want to do is preserve that before I go over it. I'm so annoyed that I'm looking at doing like masking fluid right now. But at the same time, I also want to preserve that because it's such a muted down tone, and I need to shift that towards like a silvery tone. And that's right about here. Kind of a weird little oval blob. I'm just, like I said before, using the surface tension of the liquid to help keep it in a roundish shape. It didn't go perfectly. There's a little section that I'll fill in, but that's fine because adding shading detail will more than make up for it. There is also a fairly light spot down here. And this might be a weird thing for some of you, just seeing like the use of masking fluid after paint's already been put down. But you can use masking fluid at any point in the painting journey. Just be aware if you have a more like granulating paint, those will probably be a little bit more susceptible to potentially lifting when you remove that masking fluid. So, a teeny little blot on the nozzle, and then here you can see that skinny little pin that's in the cap. You just gotta line that up. So it's a minor annoyance to go ahead and get those lined up, but you know what? It's better than that nozzle getting clogged up and not functioning when you need it, so that is far better. Let's see. You know what, while I'm waiting for that to set up, because that is like the area that we're diving into next, I'm gonna just park this number 8 brush again because that's still loaded. I'm going to grab the round number 1, also Princeton Velvet Touch. Currently, I'm not affiliated with them, it's just those are what I considered like my next level of brushes, going from like nameless random packs of like, you know, the on the cheaper end, like Royal Langnickel, stuff like that, where you see it at like craft stores, just see like a brush assortment. So here's me slowly branching out and slowly getting better with some of the supplies I'm using, because I've been doing this for, I would say, a little while, even though technically I started getting watercolors about 5 years ago. I haven't been putting a whole lot of that into practice, so like as far as like body of work, a portfolio, things like that, I don't really have one. I've done some random gifts very recently because I did a photography class. Now I've started doing a little bit of photographing my work, so now I have a record of newer pieces. Oh, I'm not quite where I want to be with that yet. I'm gonna give that masking fluid just another moment. It is starting to get a little bit translucent, but not quite there. So I grabbed a little bit of the neutral tint, And this has been irking the crap out of me since I noticed it. Hopefully it's thin enough. Yeah, that should be thin enough. This section actually goes a little bit further down. No, like my face is getting right up on the piece. I'll make sure that I'm putting that in correctly. And I'll go ahead and zoom that detail. Sorry about that. That's a bit closer. Don't want to hold this, but I want you to see both together. Alright, so that's a little bit better. I feel a little bit better. That's one of those big things about a likeness that, you know, it's a detail that makes a difference. I mean, the shading will make a huge difference too. There's so little shading on him. It's like, this is like babyface Johnny Depp, like from, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street kind of deal right now in this costume, instead of you know, Johnny as he's currently aging. Alright, so I need to go ahead and check out the strength of this. Yeah, I just kind of grab whatever watercolor paper nearby. Alright, good. Nice dark value. I don't know why I didn't go that dark with this when I was painting it before. I don't know, I think sometimes it's easy to hesitate on details where, you know, if you're going with too dark of a value, you're not going to really be able to lift it. To maybe the degree that you would want to. So I'll come back over here. This shadow by the hand needs to be so much darker. I don't know, I see something over here and I'm not sure what it is, so it's difficult to portray it. Because if I don't know what it is, how's somebody looking at this going to know what it is? This could be more of like that edge of that fabric. Could be parts of the pistol. I'm not positive. My little one's getting loud. He's been so talkative today. Not that any of it's English, but, you know, that's how they learn. He's just been yammering up a storm today. It's very cute. I need to catch some of that on a video. Alright, I want that hair on. I'm slowly working it there. I see some really light spots in this area. It also feels like some of this goes a little bit cooler than the sepia is. So I'm probably going to lay in a glaze of the neutral tint, or maybe a little bit of the Payne's gray, just to kind of steer it a little bit cooler. Or it could just be that the highlights are a little bit cooler than this warm area. But yeah, grabbing a little bit more of still the same sepia from M. Graham. So that would be the watercolor, not the shade and tone set. I'm not sure what you would call the shade and tone set specifically.
Your mom. It's your mom.
This is going a little bit slower than the pace I want, but these are details getting basically sketched in with this paintbrush right now. I did not lay these out when I did the transfer, which, well, nobody's perfect. Why didn't I fill this in? Alright. I know some of this wash was wet. I'm probably going to have some sections drying a little funky. I'm building this up. Like really uneven washes. And I think it's going to be okay because now I'm pushing around the pigment a little bit better. Okay, so those are some pretty dark values. Oh, geez, I'm still zoomed in. You didn't see any of that. Talking about these little details that I'm drawing in, and you saw none of it. This one is a dark value. It's like a shadow from the ring over here coming down this way. But it's a really, really cool shadow from what I can see. So I'm leaving that one alone for right now. And then I need a base wash for some of this wood. I'm not liking all of the tones I have. I kind of like how the sepia, when it was really thin layer, washed with the sepia from the shade and tone set looks with the washes going over it from the sepia watercolor. So I think I'm going to put in a little bit more of that, a little stronger. I'm going to let this section dry a little bit and then we'll move to this section of the barrel. But I kind of feel like maybe I should have put a little bit more sepia here because I don't think it's as strong as I would want it. I'm just going to lean this way so I can tell which is which. I'm getting a better idea of which is which just eyeballing it, but it's not perfect. I'm just deepening that wash in the places that I really notice it. And definitely a bunch over here. Get more pigment. I can't tell what this is on the top. It looks like it could be brass, but it is so dark. I don't think that is... Like, I think this section is wood, but then up here is like brass or something. Oh, my eyeball's not quite making out all of it. There's some random warm tones over on this. Go ahead and pop that in while I'm here. I didn't do any of this. I want this to be really thin. Grabbing a little bit of water, doing a little bit of blotting. There's a little bit of warmth here. And a touch on the edge of this one. This feels like this is almost a little bit more like a yellowy green. I think I'm gonna grab some of the rich green gold for that. It's gonna look really, really awful initially because it is such an odd tone, but I want that as an under layer. I also want it a little bit lighter. So I'm just blotted before I'm dragging this down. And I'm seeing ever so slightly a green cast. I really love rich green gold for that initial glaze for any brass pieces. So in my headcanon, that's brass. I don't know if it actually is. And then this area looks like it's been heavily blued. I think the Indanthro is going to work for these blue touches that I'm seeing over here. Don't really want to get into this one yet, but I kind of gotta. I'm gonna blot that in just a moment, but for right now I can just kind of sit. A little touch of blue here. And here. A little bit here. Right, and I can hit this one too, which had almost no pigment left. More. Yeah. Here we go. Alright, I still gotta blot that. That'll work. Just need to soften the edges. In this case, softening the edges isn't like really looking for a gradation to fade out into. It's more like just not having hard lines on those edges. I want it to kind of blend in with the next layers coming on top. Alright, what's next? I'm gonna lay in some of that wood tone. I think I'm gonna go with the sepia there, actually. Let's get a little bit warmer there. We got a little warmer here. I'm not sure if I'm going to like this just sitting on top as a glaze, or if I prefer it as like an underlayer and just something to go over later, so we'll see. Alright, so just blotting. I'm just gonna softly come around here, pick up some of this. I think I'm gonna get some lower strength sepia watercolor and just gently do the edge of this and let that bleed in here a little bit darker. Just whatever little bit of water was still on the brush. A little bit from the edge of the sepia ink wash. Maybe a little more pigment. Is that a detail that you can even see? Probably not. Okay. Just coming down here into this wash a little bit and soften these edges together. You're alright, hon. Oh, here I've been talking on mute. I don't know how long I've been talking on mute. Alright, I need to be right back in just a moment. Alright, I am back. Kids learning how to play together. Always a thing. Let's see. I'm grabbing a touch more sepia ink. I'll just go a little darker up here. That's one that I've already started seeing this wash. Kind of toning down just a bit. And we'll bring that little blot right down this way. It shouldn't bloom too much because most of this wash is pretty dry now. But I'm just kind of bring it around to some of these dark areas. And just let it be happy there. But that is looking miles better than it did. And for a lot of you, if you like French ultramarine, but you like the tones that I'm getting with the Ananthrone blue, you can mix that ultramarine with a little bit of burnt sienna, transparent red oxide, quinacridone burnt orange. All three of those colors basically act about the same. They're on the earthier side, they're on the orange side. I generally stay away from a lot of granulating pigments because I'm working on hot press paper. I do want to play with some of those granulating effects and get some cold press. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna take a quick second to look at a package that I was sent. I'm on a Discord server with a bunch of artists, and we did a trade, and oh, this is hot press. Never mind. I thought I got a hot press one, English. I thought I got a cold press book, but hot press is more my usual style, but I managed to get one of her notebooks from Etcher. It's, they're normally sold in 3-packs, and I wasn't that curious to get involved in buying a 3-pack in case I might not like it, but we did a paint swap, so I sent her some paint, she sent me some paper. She also was incredibly generous, sending along a couple little samples, so I'll pull them out real quick. But yeah, thank you, Annie. Annie, like, I asked her for what I thought she was going to do is just literally a paint swatch, like dab her, brush into some paint, slap it on some, and some water, and just slap it on some paper, just so I could see what this looked like in real life and be able to like tip it and see how the light actually affects it, because I'm a little weird about some of the duochrome colors and interference colors. It's really hard to tell what they look like when you're looking online. And then like as a last second, she threw in a little bit of the Schminke super granulating, so these are volcano yellow and the volcano red. So I have a few samples, and she sent me some nice dots, so far more than I expected. So incredibly generous. Yeah, that's really awesome, and I'm really excited to play with those pigments. These will actually be my first cadmiums. That's what they did for the, at least the volcano red and yellow are just the cadmium pigments ground a bit less fine than they tend to be, so they give a granulating effect. But for me, like, red being my favorite color and being able to have like a proper red undertone is huge for me. Yeah, because I am constantly chasing red pigments. my sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's get back into it. Sorry for the weird break. I like to, I don't know, keep you guys kind of apprised of like random stuff going on in the background, as far as like art supplies, things I'm going to be experimenting with. I'm really excited to get started on the poison ivy in dry media, but with June being such a like back to back to back kind of month, well, okay, so let me phrase it a different way. There's a lot of events between like the Philadelphia Flower Show, my sister's birthday, Father's Day, my roommate's birthday, like lots going on this month. So considering how long it takes me to work on some pieces, for me it is like blam 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 blam, and that's part of why I'm trying to get this all knocked out, and here I am not focusing on getting it knocked out. Because generally my art session for the day winds up being basically whatever I get done here. This needs to come out further. You know what, I kind of feel like the sepia, well, you know what, okay, so I have some of the sepia watercolor. I've thinned it out pretty heavily. I think I'm gonna glaze some of the texture for this, and then I think I'm gonna come back in and do more with the sepia ink from Inktense. I think that's how I want to do this. So I'm running a whole bunch of this wash over here off the edge, but no, I do want to pick up some of it and push it forward, push it in other areas. This didn't go dark enough, but there's this nice little thing going on over here. Actually, I want this to just glaze over here anyway. This is a nice dull spot as far as the wood goes. So when I'm saying colder here and using the sepia, I'm meaning like compared to this sepia, the sepia being like a more reddish brown, a little bit warmer. Actually a little bit closer to the Daniel Smith sepia. It's also a 2-pigment mix. I have an itty-bitty little swatch, and they're both pretty colors, but I don't know, something about the Amgram one I just found to catch my eye a little bit more, and for me it was important for like which one was going to be more appealing to do like value studies, because I love that style. I like the antique type of aesthetic. So I'm grabbing a little bit more. I'm gonna just I'm not just going to do something. I'm going to grab a bit more pigment and darken this value down here. So that did not go far enough before. And I will let it touch that wash. I'll add a little bit of variation, get some depth going.
Wait, I have loads of
My line has gone so wonky. I should have tipped this to the side. That's alright. I'm going to blot a good bit of the side of this or lift it. So I want it darker towards the crease in between the metal. And I'm knocking down my tablet pen. I had my tablet out right before the stream, trying to get to some schoolwork. This section is a bit darker over here. Since I'm here, I'm just gonna... You know, I think I have the wrong brush for this. I don't know why I'm fiddling around with the 8, and I feel like I'm trying to do like fine line work, and I'm like sitting here with like the fattest Sharpie ever or something. I don't know if you've ever been in that spot. But yeah, it's absolutely annoying. I think the 1's probably a little ridiculous. I should grab my 4. I'm gonna grab my 4 and see if that's my happy medium for this. I need to get rid of this line. Really don't want that line. We're gonna get a little scribbly over here, so expect madness. Yeah, we'll just run it along, start deepening the values, because that's what we need to do. Yeah, this number 4 is also a Princeton Velvet Dutch. This is not going completely to plan. That's okay. Alright, I think I'm gonna go in with the sepia ink now. And get a little bit more of a granular effect, try to do some detailing. So this is the sepia ink on the shade and tone set. I know this is gonna be doing some weirdness here. I want to start adding some wood grain at this point. And I want to get to that wash. This is still really light right here. I don't know why it's so light. And I've not created a puddle of wash to be dipping into, which that's okay. Some of these areas should be a bit darker, like over here. Incredibly dark. Hopefully watching some of this process is really good for you guys, because you're getting to see like how much of a freaking mess some areas are as I'm working. And it's like, oh god, this one, you know, every painting goes through an ugly phase, and it's important that you push through that to get to where you want to be in the painting. So sometimes that's easier, sometimes it's not. But you need to realize that with that perseverance and focus, that you can go ahead and change this painting to what you need it to be. Alright, so this needs a really dark value here. I think this I'm gonna go back to the sepia watercolor. And the reason why is because of how deep it goes. I can build it a bit darker. I feel like with some of these more granular colors, I'm getting like streaking. And there's this really deep tone along the edge here. I want to start blocking in some of these darker values. And I could also have done this with the what's his name? I could have done this with the neutral temp too, but I see this as slightly warmer, because it does have that contrast of texture here. And I'm just thinning this out for a slightly lighter wash. I'm gonna blot real quick. I have plenty of pigment for this over here. Just need to adjust where it's sitting. I'll refine the shape when I do a later pass. I think this looks like it's the same metal color here, so I want to go in and hit that with a little bit of that brass tone, the rich green gold I was using. For right now, I have sepia on my brush. I also have this area is wet, so I don't want to touch that. I'm gonna get this next area for the rod. And this is a pretty dark value, so initially I'm just gonna hit it with some color. To my eye, there seems to be like some texture going on, like maybe it's rusted. It shouldn't be rusted though. Like this sort of thing should be like probably like gun bluing. It's like an intentional patina that you use to maintain the usability of it. I think. I'm not a gun person. I mean, there's not a whole lot of highlight on this to help depict form. But I am trying to convey that this part is round. This is weird, kind of. At least how I see it on here, a weird mottled texture thing going on. Just coming over that slightly. I'll bring that blue highlight back a little bit more with another pass, but it needed to be, I guess, dirtied up in my head. That's how I see it. Wait, I've sat in the same spot too long. My leg is asleep. And my foot. Alright, fun stuff. Great. I'm gonna jump to another area. So we can let this dry a little bit so I can get the rest of that detail in. Boy, we only have 10 minutes. Okay, executive decision. This water is kind of a thing that's eaten me. So I think I'm gonna switch over to the water. I know I could just focus and be like, oh yeah, the gun's done, and honestly, at this rate, it might not get done. Even though it is kind of like this central point of focus for a good while there. I'm gonna thin this just a touch. So I have that same mix. And I really want this to be soft. What I'm doing across the top here is just getting this to be even. I want to do... This might not wind up being exact to the original reference, but because of how this wash is blooming out, I just want to very gently kind of put that back where it belongs. This might run under the paint, under the ruler, and that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything being drawn down. Ah, jeez. I need to keep my brush pressure a little bit more gentle. Whenever I say gentle, I am such a mean culture kid. That whenever I say that, I'm automatically thinking of Princess Bride, where he's like, "Jelly!" and his head slams against the headboard. It's such a silly thing. Oh jeez, and then I flub part of that line. I'm trying to see over the edge of this ruler without whacking my head on the camera. And that is with varying results. Wow, you can see how terrible that line was. My washes just kept creeping and creeping. And I wanted them soft, but man. But yeah, you can see right there. I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to scrub at that one later. I will fix that one later. It's one of those, I know if I mess with it now, I'm going to make it worse than it was. So now I'm going to try to take this edge and bring it down gently. Don't know if I put that picture in your head too, but I'm probably going to giggle about that for a while. Alright. I'm trying to smooth that edge. Maybe I should just let that dry and then I can smooth that edge with the Willow's blender. I'm just gonna slowly bring this wash down so that brush is pretty dry. I might need to go in one more time, but yeah, I feel like I'm getting somewhere. I am feeling like I'm probably not going to do the whole wash for the water. I think I'm going to focus on this top edge to where the highlight is, because we have like 10-ish minutes left. And I'm just being very careful not to put my hand on the paper for this bit. But it is such a subtle thing. I have really wanted to see this corrected. Part of this is that I don't know if I have enough of this color already mixed to do the whole area. So for me, doing this in sections makes a little bit more sense. So start over here because I was already using it actively. And then there's a visual break here, so if the colors aren't exactly the same for that mix, which they wouldn't be, because you can see at the very bottom's edge of the water, the mixture goes warmer as it's coming closer to the foreground. So it makes sense for me to go ahead and break that wash up into two areas to make sure that it is looking correct. Though with the concentrated indanthrone there, it probably doesn't matter because I would be glazing over that anyway. But you know, stuff. I'm going a little heavier with the pigment over here. And yes, I am still doing this with the number 4, even though I probably could switch to my 8. Just sitting here working on this painting makes me want to be somewhere tropical. Just look at that water, man. I went to Bermuda once, and it was just gorgeous. It's incredibly lucky. My grandfather was nice and took my parents and, well, took the whole family out on a trip. That's one of those, you know, I'm grateful for having had that experience. This was way back in high school, I think. So after freshman year. So it was very cool. But I don't know, me and my grandfather just haven't had much of a relationship since then. I love him. I hope he's doing well. I haven't called. I should probably call. Just random. I could do some line work to help depict some waves here. Oh, I did a dumb. I added some water into this mix. Where this wash is not all the way dry. And you know what? I'm just going to keep stroking it back and forth which sounds terrible. Get your mind out of the gutter. But yeah, I'm just going to keep using the brush to keep working side to side. That way those variations hopefully will kind of be faked in such a way that it'll look like texture of the waves. So I think I've been around my roommates too much, and anything that sounds like it could be, you know, in the gutter. Yeah, there's that. And also, you know, just my other half in general. I joke and tell him he's 12 sometimes. So I think that's just sometimes where their minds just seem to stop. They're just forever 12. Can we make that a store? Well, I mean, they kind of have. It's a lot of what Spencer's carries, but just forever 12. It's like, I love you, hon, if you're listening. Definitely on the sillier side for a rant today. But I like that this line wound up a little bit concentrated up here, but I'm feeling like it's not so even on this side, and I really want it to be. I really wish I hadn't put that rope here. So if you are choosing to paint your own, then you have an incredibly dark detail, that can wait a little while. I'm gonna try to get a little bit more concentrated pigment. I've used up that whole wash, so I'm glad I opted to go this route. But I want to get a little bit more pigment right here. And I think this wash is finally dry enough for me to do it that way. Alright. You know what? While there's still anything left on the palette for this wash, I'm gonna come in here a little bit more. And same thing, just build that up a little bit darker. I am definitely feeling better about this, other than the one spot I flubbed. But you know what? That could be a landmass. It's cool enough, it's far enough in the background. You know what? Maybe I'll keep that there, and that's an island that you just can't see in the reference. So I don't know. Happy little accidents moment. I'm afraid to even say his name, because the company that now owns his name, I've heard, is very litigious. And I'm not even going to say the name of the company, because there's that. But until very, very recently, his own son couldn't paint, because that would possibly dilute their intellectual property. It's like, wow, you're a different level of scumbag. It was, you know, some of it was legally fair, like the how the assets were determined after his wife's passing. But that was just a crappy contract to be in. So, you know, read stuff. If you don't understand stuff, lawyer up. Absolutely. That is at least a good life lesson there, that getting passed on. I'm just gonna grab the burnt embers a little bit and just... I noticed this one edge seems a little bit lighter than it should be. I think I just forgot to run this edge all the way up. I was probably a little too cautious with my sky mix. Just bring that up. And blend it down. Get this slight little seam. Just blend that back in. That's better. I'm just trying to get rid of some of those white gaps in between places. That's why I let some sections of like the background run into each other, so stuff doesn't look like it's copy pasted on top of other elements, but it's not perfect. You know what? I'm gonna grab a little more burnt embers. Yeah. That one takes so long to wet. little bit more shaping right there on this edge. Just a little bit more modeling. I'm not full on detailing the hat still. Not quite there, but that edge was bothering me and it was close enough to the water I call it like related. But let's move this up front and center. I'll go ahead and zoom out just a touch because we're already at 3 o'clock and I have not come back into this. I'm gonna go in and definitely do at least 2 things real quick while I still have you here. My small one is napping. I might go a couple minutes over, but anyway. Grabbing a little bit of the rich green gold so I can go ahead and lay in the slight glaze for this. And it's a pretty light glaze. It's not going to make a huge... it's not going to stand out in a huge way, ultimately. But it's a subtle thing that it'll be there. I feel like maybe that's a little bit too strong. But just a touch. Alright, put that in over here too. And I'm gonna go a little bit darker here while I have it, because that seems slightly deeper than the other spots. And along here. Along here there's a highlight. It'll be a little bit lighter with some of the other tones. So it's absolutely not perfect, but we're getting there. And I want to go in with the Payne's Gray. I need to grab more. Maybe I will go ahead and finish bringing that water wash in. Maybe I should mix some neutral tint in. No, I can go strong, pretty strong with the Payne's Gray. But yeah, right now this is my only actual ultramarine related pigment on this palette. Which I have not been minding. I think... I might be wrong, but I need to look. I think the Daniel Smith one, I might be thinking indigo instead, is the Indanthrone blue with black instead. Go to this area since we're playing with some details right now and some really heavy pigment. Give this some shape. Ooh, that's a nice little line. I like it. I have not used my number for detail work, can you tell? I do want to have a little bit of an edge here so I can lean just a bit. That will be toned down a little bit because there's a shadow coming off of it. It'll be evened out just a touch. I'm trying to hit the darkest tones over here while I got this brush out. Oh, there's another highlight I should have saved. That's okay, that one's gonna go in with the bleed proof white. I don't know how I missed that. There's also a yellow, like a warmer cast right around here. So I'll go ahead and get that in later. And I'm gonna bring you guys in closer so you can see that detail, because this is some itty bitty stuff going on. I'm trying to slide up a little more. Still going in with the Payne's Gray. If you don't have Payne's Gray and you just have neutral tint, you can go in with either your Indanthrone blue or some ultramarine. A lot of palettes use ultramarine. I don't know what it is, but I'm just not a fan of that color or the granulation. Even though, like, I actually love the shade of cobalt blue, but I haven't played with that one on a palette either. this goes a little bit darker here. I'm gonna say, why not do that with some of the Payne's Gray, just to push that contrast. And a little touch here. At this point, the brush is getting pretty dry, so I'm able to do some drier techniques, like put some of these little transitions in. And I want to fade that just a touch. You can see I'm just very, very scribbly right now. Just areas that look like they go in a little bit further. I'm not trying to go in here very wet because a lot of times ultramarine will be more likely to lift than some of the other pigments. I'm just kind of scribbling and hoping I get the right effect. Then a little bit of water, a little bit more ultramarine. I want to do a quick glaze so I can see like there's like an indent here around this object. So a little bit here for the highlight, not highlight, the shadow on it. A bit of round effect. And I need to go a little heavier with that wash. It's a little more pigment. Oh, this actually goes further out than what I originally drew. And it does seem to taper off a little bit, so we'll do that. If you're just getting into drawing and painting, try to think of stuff as more so shapes and shadows. Like this is not a hand. This is, oh, there's a highlight here, there's a highlight there, there's depth here as far as shadows. So that could be helpful to stop looking at it as a person. Just while you're in that drawing phase, I'm going to move this pigment over. I don't really want that to run. Do a little bit of lifting. That's better. Okay, and actually this edge actually continues. Okay, I'm going to wait for that to dry before I put that line back in. But this little like bevel here, it runs right into that shadow, and I have a little bit too much water there for that to remain a nice crisp line. With the little bit of water on my brush though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this edge that I had scribbled in and just slowly catch the edge of it and curve it upward. It's a nice thing about knowing that the French ultramarine is prone to wanting to lift. It's like, oh, what? Let's go. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I should put it on my palette. Right now I'm not really looking at blues, I'm still really exploring my reds. I'm still so indecisive on that. I think I first started talking to a couple of my friends about that like last year. You know what? While I still have still working on Payne's Gray Kick, I'm gonna put in that one bead. Pretty dark value. But yeah, we're about 10 minutes over. I think this will be the last thing that I do for today. It does get darker in value towards the bottom of it, but for right now, I kind of just want to lay down the initial wash. So I have way too much pigment just puddling here. What I'm going to do instead of just lifting it, like I could just blot it, I'm actually going to lift it with the brush because then I'll be able to do that really soft highlight. And you know, I'm going to let that pigment chill for a moment. I'm just going to hit this one and get that shadow in. You know what? I have the pigment. I'm here. Might as well get that done. And then there's ever so slightly punch there, and a little bit of a shadow across the top of the other bead. Alright, blot all the rest of that off. That way this brush will be nice and thirsty to get our highlight back. And a little bit lighter across there. Should be even lighter right there, so I'm just gonna blot again. Try to lift a little bit more. I don't want to go in with water yet. I'm trying not to have to do that, because I don't want a back run. I think it might be better to let that dry at this point. It is a nice soft highlight. There's one spot that is just a slightly brighter moment, and it's not enough to go in there with the bleed. Oh, down here. It's not enough to go in with a bleed-proof white. It's a really subtle one, so it's like maybe like a wood bead or kind of like a matte tone to it, something like that. So I just want to go in with like ever so slightly a little dot of water and just light scrubbing motion on that one little spot, and then blot it with the paper towel. So it'll be fine. I'm not going to work on it anymore because the rest of the shading is perfect. I want it to stay put. I'm gonna glaze this one real quick with the Quinburn Orange, because this one is far too yellow still. That was too much water. Just want to start tipping the tone towards the right direction. That is still a pretty sharp highlight on that one. That's why I did that one with the masking fluid. I think it's probably going to need another glaze because I want really light with the pigment. That's alright. We'll leave it. It is more than we had, and that is good enough for me right now. Alright, so yeah, I guess this is goodbye for now. We'll be back at it tomorrow. I can go ahead and try to get a little bit more detail in. I think, let me see. Oh, let me back out first. There, we can both see now. Gonna hop onto the Twitch just to say hi. Oh, how? Hi, Rowdy Robbie. The islands in the stream. All right. So we'll okay, so we'll just catch up with Rowdy Robbie for a moment because holy cow. So apologize for late. No worries, just got done patching a wall. Nothing as ugly as an unwanted patch wall. Yeah. Oh, unsanded patch wall. Yeah, I feel you there. I thought you said you weren't going to use the straight ruler ever again because you were mad at it. I think he's referencing when I was doing the MerMay prompts and I was doing this tank. Let's see, that should be right here on my desk. I'll go ahead and show you why he's saying I'm probably mad at my ruler, because I kinda am. I had the worst time trying to do straight lines. They kept going slightly crooked, even though I was using like the inch mark to go ahead and line up against the bottom edge of the paper. So like it should be straight because I'm eyeballing this and that should be straight, and it just was not going there for me. So yeah, here's my mermaid. The paper's a little bit longer, but I did black out the bottom edge of it. I kind of like that framing better because it looks like you're somebody standing in the audience looking up at the stage. I kind of like that feeling for this. It's kind of a pretty, kind of a sad picture. I think I want to do more for maybe clothing-ish, like a formal top, but at the moment I've left her kind of lacking features, so it's not like she's specifically nude. So we'll leave that. What does a fish person need with mammary glands kind of deal? But yeah. So that definitely was bugging me back during MerMay. I want to rework a couple of these. This one has so many cool ideas. I like the ideas. I don't like the execution of this one, so I'm kind of like, kind of over it about doing more on this one. So it's a cool idea. I'll probably get rid of the penguin if I redo it, but yeah, at some point this will be a really, really fun piece to get back to. This one's another one where I like the concept, but I want to rework it too. I'll get into MerMay stuff later. And then this one, I really like how this one turned out. And actually, this is one of the most popular videos on my channel, is when I came in and did the finishing details. So maybe it's something about like using pointed pen that was really attractive. Maybe it's because I was using the shade and tone set or the Liquitex inks, Liquitex acrylic ink. So I'm not sure what it was about this. It is one of the few that I use the muted inks for as well, so I'm not sure if that's playing a part, and I'm sorry about all the hand wavering. I'll try to get that a little more stationary. But yeah, I was kind of mad at that ruler for a bit. All grown men are stuck at 12, yes. That's why midlife crises, they buy a sports car. Islands in the stream, that is what we are. Nice. You sure it's a highlight and not dirt? Captain Jack is pretty filthy. Honestly, either way. Johnny Depp, I read about this and... Oh no, I didn't read about it, I watched it. There's a big behind-the-scenes film. It's probably like special features from the DVDs. But, like, he kept pitching so many of his hats in the water that they just made him a rubber one because he was wrecking so many hats. Like, can you imagine having 10 of those hats that you've already destroyed before you get a rubber one? Like, that's craziness. Alright, so we're all caught up with that, and thanks so much for hopping in and joining me. Yeah, pretty much ending the stream, but I'm kinda... I like to let you guys know, like, what's the next direction? Like, where are we going with the next thing? And I feel like I should have an answer, but I don't. I really wanted to finish the water. I feel like maybe I need to come in with a little bit more depth here, which I'll do that when I get to this lower wash. I don't know what I'm doing on Jack tomorrow. It's kind of free for all. You understand? You hate his hat. What's wrong with this hat? It's a plain old tricorn hat. It is like the classic pirate hat. Oh well. So, as far as what's next, I have no clue. We're going to be working on... Oh, I don't know, something about it I just hate. Well, we'll figure that out. Maybe like next stream will be like a therapy session. Barbosa's is too posh as well. Jack's is like the most grimy, plain-looking hat. Like, you know, look at Teague's hat, which is phenomenal. Oh no, I don't. I like the big splashy pirate hat. I had one with red ostrich feathers. Was it red or black? I think I had both. I think I swapped the feather out a couple times. But yeah, I would store it, and mine wasn't a tricorn style. It was you do the same like round style for the brim, but just the two sides were pinned up instead. Davy Jones hat. Yeah, that was a good hat. Also liked him being an octopus. Yeah. I like that they developed motion capture for him so he could be on stage, like on the set, working with everybody else, and everybody else is interacting with him live, instead of it being like spliced from like a sound stage and not everything might line up right. Not everything would line up correctly. You know, they ruled that out. So I think that was really good for the performance. My small one just woke up from his nap, and I am way over on time. So we will be back to do more work on Jack. Maybe I'm just going to focus on all the white areas of the paper. Maybe I can get that done in time for the stream tomorrow. So I think that might be it. Is I'll block in washes, and then I'll just fine-tune details, because a lot of what is left is just details. And yeah, we'll get on to that. Motion capture is hysterical and behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, always. Okay, I'll check out Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. But yeah, we'll go ahead and end off today, and we'll be back at it tomorrow, working on some more Jack. So keep on creating, and bye for now.